Hello and good afternoon, this is Ep01 here with a demo of my Railcraft train station. I have been playing an awful lot of survival multiplayer on my server here, and an awful lot of this I built on my own. There's definitely others that helped here and there, but I figured if I'm going to put all the effort into making it, might as well show other people what I've done, how it works, and encourage others to build large train stations. I was browsing around trying to find others that had large train stations, and there's definitely a couple on the internet. There's definitely some that give me some inspiration, but I didn't see anything quite this size. If there is stuff out there that's this size, great, more power to you. I'd be very interested in seeing it. So this is what I've dubbed Grand Central, with a restaurant that's coming in soon. We have, as you saw out over here, an inbound platform, which will automatically kick you off the train. We have an outbound platform area with 4 trains all loaded up. And they will, as you just saw here a second ago, they will automatically cycle around so they don't run out of fuel, because the entire time they're sitting here, they're all running, and there's a special holding track underneath that kind of holds them in place until there's a reason to go. So I have 4 trains, always at the ready, assuming everything is working correctly. Some of them are 4 carts long, some of them are 3 carts long. You'll also notice right here on the side, I have some computer craft via these terminal glasses that will actually show information about what's going on in the station here. So for example, if we were to pulse this guy for a second, you'll notice the number on the left side goes down. I mean, pointing at it probably doesn't help much, but it's kind of detecting how many trains are stopped in place. Right now we've got 3 on the side here, and in a fourth one will show up momentarily. So the general flow is counterclockwise. If a train's released from here and there's nothing going on, it will proceed forward and left. I actually have this set up. It's a long story. I can go into technical details in a later episode, but right now I'm just doing a basic episode, just kind of give a tour of what's going on. But this kind of pulses and holds trains so that you don't end up with 4 trains all trying to use this intersection at the same time. I have used Railcraft interlocks, which I can show, but this intersection here allows a loop of the idle trains to come through, and it allows the inbound trains to come through and not collide, assuming everything's working correctly. Obviously I have the passenger unloading side and the express unloading side, which is just simply determined by whether there's a player in the train or not. There's 3 player detectors here. For whatever it's worth, if anyone's planning out a large train station like this, you definitely want to take a look at spacing. How long are your trains? How long are your trains going to be? And that can make a huge difference as to how you design things. Various switching motors for various reasons all over the place. But this whole outer line here is basically express inbound for trains that do not have a player on them. There are definitely trains that will automatically cycle in and out, just due to needing fuel and other various systems I have set up. So I'll go into detail on how a lot of this stuff works, but long and short of it is everything comes into the back corner here as it's approaching, and let me make sure I don't get run over, so that's always fun and exciting. And again, another interlock system. This one's a little more visible, but these are the Railcraft interlock boxes. And these 2 incoming paths are monitored. This intersection here is monitored, and these queuing sections here for refueling are monitored. Here we have 4 different refueling stations. Got advanced item loaders, stock with charcoal, liquid loader, stock with water, times 4. The train pulls up, conveniently enough, gets filled up with charcoal, pulls up a little bit further, gets filled up with water, and then once it has water, it should go to right there, and it's going to wait. And the reason it's waiting is because there's a train in front of it. If everything's working correctly, and I've worked out most tweaks, I think everything's working and behaving itself pretty well. Most times, a train will not allow to be able to proceed forward if there's a train in the section in front of it. And that is true for just a basic minecart or a full-length train, assuming it's within the sensor range. Over here, we've got another interlock system. And for whatever it's worth, a lot of this colored brick has absolutely no functionality at all other than to just keep my own arrangement and organization sane. Because red goes to, where are you? Red. So I can tell even without the Railcraft goggles on that this red goes with this red, which means this receiver box is paired with this block signal. And that block signal and the relay underneath. So yellow goes to yellow, orange goes to orange, cyan goes to cyan, purple goes, or magenta, I guess it technically is called, goes to magenta, etc. I've also used in multiple places, and you'll see them more and more as I go into more details, various Project Red gates. This is an AND gate. You can actually tell that there's the left side's turned on, the right side is enabled, and then the back side here on this case is not enabled. You can use a screwdriver with Project Red to actually turn it from a 3-point AND gate to a 2-point AND gate. And then sometimes you need OR gates, and there's NOT gates and all kinds of other good stuff. So we can go into detail on some of that. So as you just saw, there's actually a whistle track here that I've been using for blind corners, just because getting run over with Railcraft trains coming at you, it just is not fun. And then we're back here again, and all 4 of these will pulse and as needed, just so that none of them are running out of fuel. If you look carefully as I'm wandering around, I'll do my best to show off a lot of the functionality here, but there are multiple routing tracks. Most of them are just for basic functionality. This guy just simply forces a blank destination. So what it basically is saying is, if you're in this queue over here, you don't have a destination yet, we're going to wait for a player to set a destination for you. In order to do that, we can head to the exit, and this is all my decorating tools. And this is not my idea. This I copied from someone else, and I'll definitely make sure I give credit in my next episode when I have that ready. But this touchscreen here, you can actually right-click, and it'll pop out a ticket. Now there were already 2 in here. Let me pull them both out and demonstrate. If I right-click, I get a ticket printed. So we can keep a couple stocked in here, but this is just pretty much using paper and ink and printing a special Railcraft ticket. So if you have a ticket in your hand, or if you have a golden ticket, different story. And we go to the departure side, and we say, I want this train, because I could go with the 3 long or the 4 long, whatever. We jump in here, and I take my ticket, and I drop it in. Because it's a white ticket, it gets used up. And also, because the train has a destination set, it immediately releases and immediately gets shot to this outbound express lane. There was the the outbound loading lane, and then there's the outbound express lane, which I probably could have showed earlier. And why does it always have to be raining? And we'll go into the subway in a second. So that is an intersection. This is kind of a split from my subway to my skyway. Certain multiplayer bases are off the subway line, some are off of the skyway line, and that kind of, there's multiple ways to organize and divvy up your destinations and how they're getting there. I just decided that, at least for certain destinations, it's just easier to go underground. So this is my super exciting tunnel that I have not cleaned up, and you'll see all kinds of crap on the walls. Eventually may decorate, but I definitely focused primarily on functionality and the thing actually working and no collisions as a much higher priority than, say, decorating, cleaning things up, making things look pretty. hence why the restaurant isn't open yet. But I have intersections named and labeled, just so I can kind of keep track of what's where and who's connected to what. And my train station for my base is down this way. It is not fancy in any way, shape, or form. I was screwing around with a Railcraft one with equal exchange on it, as you'll see here in a second. Most of the stations, when a train approaches, if there's one in the station, it'll actually kick it out, the individual destination station. So that train was actually sitting at the station. It was parked right here, and when we approached, the signal said, oh, there's a train coming, let's release this one. Because my goal is that each one of the individual players' stations would have exactly one train sitting at it. And as they burn through their water, as they burn through their charcoal, and usually it's the water that goes first, there's actually functionality built in to release the train and send it back to Grand Central. So that means then we don't have to set up a charcoal supply at every single destination. You can just set up a charcoal supply at the Grand Central station, and then as long as everyone else is within range of Grand Central, you don't really need to be refueling at every single remote destination. Just saves a little bit on headache as far as I'm concerned. But then it also added to some complexity, as you can see from my computer craft code. One other piece of functionality we have, and this is just a basic station, so I'm just going to hit pop, and with no destination set, there was actually a box over here somewhere that because I arrived at my destination, it overwrote it and said you're blank now. One functionality I did add, if you noticed, you were really quick, this went from paging quiet to paging requested. What this is actually doing is it realized that my station had a train and the train left. So now the station is empty. Because the station is empty, we need to send a train over there so that someone can use it next time they need it. So as we ride along this train here, and we go back through all these intersections we were just at some point we're going to actually pass a train here. Now I'll tell you that I think you have to be an op to do this, and this is for whatever it's worth, this is the Railcraft 164 FTB. And this is modpack version 1018. I'm desperately in need of an update. But if you're a mod and you hit equals, you can actually kind of see what chunks are loaded. And because I have anchor carts on all these trains, you can actually kind of track down where they are. So I knew that guy was close because there weren't that many chunks loaded. But that train is now headed over to my station. And if you watch this in motion is going to change at some point, probably about the time we get to the main station, maybe a little bit after, it will show as either quiet or another station with paging. For whatever it's worth, my numbers here is just on off for 6 different slots. So the main station can monitor 6 different remote stations. Back up here again to where we started our video, and it is still raining outside, thank goodness for a subway. And again, you can see my color bricks out here as well, because I'm just trying to keep myself sane in terms of what's linked with what. There are definitely Railcraft blocks that will slow trains down and speed them up. If you noticed, if you're paying attention, the speed on the train is actually changed automatically a couple times. I'm happy to show that. And we just went quiet. Let me briefly show off some of the other basic functionality. Let me jump down here. This is just all my decorating junk and some of my tools and other minecart stuff with a little to-do list on things that still to do. We have villagers selling absolutely nothing. They think they're selling tickets, but you know, they're not quite as useful as I think. I have slots open if someone wants to actually open up a retail store down here or here. There's a couple different slots here. In the back of this station, I have a tree farm. Now, anyone who is familiar with automated tree farms and is familiar with FTB, usually they don't go for birch tree farms. I'm well aware of that. However, this is an indoor tree farm, and I had a height limit. If you try to put jungle wood in a basement like this, it's just going to cause problems. I don't even know whether a jungle wood tree would actually go through the roof and actually destroy blocks or not, but I don't want to find out. So I intentionally picked a short tree that I knew would behave itself, that would stay out of my way. But this is pretty much, if you ever look up My Factory Reloaded, this is just basic harvester with a basic planter, and the harvester, each one of them has a looks like a gold upgrade range, which is probably more than enough. And as long as you provide the area with enough light, trees will grow underground or under a roof just fine. Setup over here is really basic thermal expansion stuff. We've got a steam dynamo powered off of charcoal, and the charcoal is powering the tree farm, which in turn makes charcoal, which in turn makes wood, and the wood gets sent over here. And I don't think, yeah, the system isn't quite fully self-sufficient, so I still need to tweak that a little bit. But thanks to the magic of ender chests and other locations, we can supply the main station with charcoal. So, long and the short of it is, there's just wood coming in here to this barrel and this redstone furnace, and maybe not both at the same time very well, but wood is coming over here and getting cooked up in the charcoal and getting stockpiled here, so that's my buffer. And then all that just goes up. This is the underside of the refuel, this area here, with the item loaders and liquid loaders. So we have all of that, and you can completely ignore that. This is Mine Factory Reloaded redneck cable. You can completely ignore that unless the sensors are what you're interested in, this train count. Because I don't think I'm doing any of that for anything that's really required. But this is all my This is all of my piping for moving charcoal and moving water around. Item ducts work absolutely amazing if you only have one type of item going through. They will get backlogged if you send more than one type of item, but I will try not to go into too much in the way of basics on how a lot of this functionality works, so I can kind of give a basic, give a better overview. We've been in here. If I navigate through here, this is all Bibliocraft decoration stuff here. Above, we have kind of the switchboard control center, where I have some notes and I have some screens. This, as I was saying, and again, this is the Mine Factory Reloaded cable plus Computercraft. This is all completely optional, but what this does is allows me to see what's going on, see what slots are loaded with trains. So the number 4 here, this train count, matches up with this number 4 here, and then this is all using wireless modems to spit that out, plus this terminal glasses bridge from Open Peripherals. So we have 4 slots here that have trains. The red coloring here matches up with the Railcraft red signaling. So for example, if we were to, I'm going to release that train down here via wireless redstone. So I pulsed that one train went, and now you can actually see that slot is green, and for a brief second there, slot number 3 was green, and as the train approaches, this slot goes red again. And then he's stuck in the interlock over there. Now he's in the intersection. Now he's in the express inbound, and it kind of follows along. And again, you can kind of watch these numbers over here. This is a 1, and he's going to wait there at the end of that express inbound for a second, and then he's going to show up in the back. This number here, this 2, should go to a 3, because the 3 matches up with this section back here, which is my refuel. So train count 4, train count 3, train count 0, 4, 3, 0. So that's what's going on with that. And again, if you don't care about this, if you don't need monitoring and you don't want to know how many trains are on your station, you can completely ignore everything Computercraft, and you can completely ignore everything involving this redneck cable. back here, I kind of have, for organization purposes, a list of routing functionality, kind of my design and my thought process, and as well as some just basic limitations on how Railcraft works. So the names, as I kind of implied here, I'm starting with, in this destination example, I have a subway. So it's going to the subway, and then from the subway it's going towards the east, and then from the east it's going towards specifically my base, Ep01, and then I went ahead and just made a name for my base. Wasn't very creative there. So the concept going on here is that the beginning of the name should be a general category. Middle of the end of the name should get more and more specific, and you can have 32 characters max, if I can count my letters correctly. So the way my overall process flow goes is the routing ideas, if there is no destination, come back here. And then different categories, the skyway, the subway, north, south, east, west, and then person, and then name, and then if you wanted to, if you got more, even further into Railcraft and you wanted to do more than just people moving, you could have additional strings on the end of that. And the nice thing is with all the routing is the intersections I was showing you out there, like you can actually see my the main intersection. It splits from the subway to the skyway. That, as it's closer to the Grand Central, it's just looking at the beginning. So if it is sky, go to the right. If it is sub, go straight forward and down into the subway. So it's not even paying attention to the end of this stuff at all. I haven't bothered from like here out for that near intersection because it doesn't need it. As you get further and out and you start looking at the intersections that are in the subway, you're going to see that everything is expecting subway, and if you don't have a subway destination, you're supposed to go back up to the surface. So I can kind of show intersections may or may not make it into this video. So these are the routes that are currently active, or sorry, the destinations. Those aren't really routes. Destinations that are currently active, as well as the intersections that are currently active. I only have one with the fancy Railcraft interlock. These other three, I just crossed my fingers that two trains aren't in the intersection at the exact same time. By the way, you may have noticed I have made somewhat heavy use of these advanced information panels. Pretty much anything you see around that doesn't look like a Computercraft monitor is probably the advanced information panel. Yeah, advanced information panel, and then there's this one in particular has another 5 extenders. Did the same thing for that. Did the same thing for that. Did the same thing for that. But that's Computercraft. The design of how that whole second floor works and how it's split off into this first floor was kind of intentional, mainly because, as I was showing before, there's track that does an entire loop inside the building. So load up here. If you don't get loaded up within a certain period of time, pulse, go down here, get split apart so you're not all on top of each other, hit the intersection, go back there, queue up, wait for a spot in the refuel area. The refuel area takes four trains at a time and then releases them up front here as needed. Because this has a full loop internal to the building, it was going to be complicated to get a walkway through here, so I decided it made sense to raise the train platform layer up. The other benefit to that is when you're walking around outside the train station, you're not dealing with the track here, because if you have no armor at all and you get hit by a train that's only going half speed, it will kill you. Well, it'll probably kill you. It does a good deal of damage. With my full modular power suit armor and full energy shielding, it's a good deal of damage. So you really don't want to be playing around on the tracks. The other thing with my design here is that standing in front of this train is generally a bad idea, because at some point it will pulse. Now the nice thing is, when it pulses, it'll actually light this red lamp up. So if you're ever playing on this server, or you ever use my design and you see this little red lamp light up, you might want to move. So I think that's kind of the basic tour. Let me show you one more brief thing, and I'm not going to go into detail. Again, this is an optional thing. But this Computercraft computer back here, combined with this whole crazy arrangement, is my paging. If this wireless receiver is emitting a redstone signal, then we assume a station needs a train. So I will probably do an entire video just on that. But the long and short of it is this signal gets sent to the Computercraft computer, and it also simultaneously lights up this routing track. And the routing track has a ticket that goes to my base. This has slots for a total of 6 bases. And that's a test destination. So right now I kind of have 3 active, although all the test does is just go out the front door, turn around and come back in. So this whole section here with this advanced programming, and there's multiple sensors going on, and know, did a train just pull through? Does the train have a destination, etc. All of that is probably an episode or 2 in and of itself. But long and the short of it is this path is not used unless a remote station is being paged. The great majority of the time, when a train hits here, they're probably going to turn left and just queue up. So that was kind of a basic walkthrough of my Railcraft train station. I hope everyone enjoyed. I'm going to go right off into the sunset. And if you do enjoy Railcraft, please do follow along. I will be releasing additional videos on how all this works, how it's all set up, and how to build your own. Enjoy. Take care.